Hey everyone, Razma here, back with another Set 5 item guide. This time we're going over the needlessly large rod. Quick disclaimer before we begin, the same disclaimer as the start of every one of these videos, so if you've watched another one already, just skip ahead to the first item. The units I have listed here are not a definitive list, just an overall suggestion. There are plenty of 3-cost units that can utilize all the items in this guide. There are better 1 and 2 cost holders as well. This is just an overall suggestion. I plan to do more comp-based, best in slot item guides in a week or two, once we actually see how the meta starts to shape up and how stuff really starts to feel. With that all out of the way, let's get right into it. So, we're going to start off with the Rabadons Deathcap, which is 2 needlessly large rods. The stats it grants is just 70 straight AP. Grants 70 total AP, that's it. The shadow version of the item is the Rabadons Caustic Deathcap. The shadow version grants 100 AP, but at the detriment of reducing the wearer's max HP by 20%. So whoever you throw the shadow version on gains 30 extra AP over the base version, so 100 AP total, but they lose 20% of their max health. Both of these items are just very viable on pretty much any AP carry. Any AP unit can use a death cap. It's just a crap ton of AP. There you go. The caustic version, while it does have a lot of damage, I feel like gaining 30 AP for a 20% reduced max health is a pretty big trade-off in this situation, where I'm not sure how good it's actually going to be, but I can't really judge it fully yet because I haven't seen enough of the AP carries, the differences between the caustic and the regular version. We'll just have to wait and see how that shapes up. For the next item, we will go over the Hextech Gunblade, which is a needlessly large rod and a BF sword. The stats it gives are 10 AD and 10 AP, and the ability is the same as set 4 and 4.5, where magic and true damage from abilities heal the wearer for 33% of damage dealt. Healing above 100% gives a shield to a max of 300 HP. Very good. It is your spellcaster defensive healing item that also gives a shield. Very good item for a lot of the spell AP carries. Karma, Vel'Koz, Mord, all very, very good with it. The shadow version of the item is called the Hextech Gunblade of Immortality. It has the same stats, 10 AD, 10 AP. And the shadow version of the ability has more healing. So it's 60% healing, but the healing heals the nearest ally. It doesn't heal the holder of the item. The holder of the item cannot be affected by the heal. So this is a more support-esque item that would go on an AP carry, but as a support unit. Not on your main carry, because your main carry will not get the healing. So it's pretty much all the same type of units, but just know that you don't want to make the shadow version on your carry. You want to make the shadow version on a secondary unit. It's probably best on a 2 or 3 cost unit that helps enable your comp. If you're playing, if you're playing some sort of AP based build with Karma or Vel'Koz, Vel'Koz, whoever your second Spellweaver is, could maybe use this to get extra healing on you, something like that. That could work. I think overall, though, it's probably just better to make the regular version on whatever your carry is, if you need that healing. The third item for rod we'll be going over is the Guinsoo's Rageblade. It's a needlessly large rod and a recurve bow. Gives you 10 attack speed, 10 ability power, and the ability grants 6% 6% stacking attack speed for the rest of combat. It can stack, for those that don't know, 5 attacks a second is the maximum that any unit can hit in TFT, so it will stack all the way up until you get to that 5 attacks a second standpoint. Very, very good item. It is probably the most flexible carry item in the game right now. It works on so many units, and slamming it is almost always viable, because a lot of fights right now, at least in set 5, on the PvE this is. I'm recording these videos on Sunday night, just so everybody knows, so it's 3 days before this set goes live. But So many of the fights are long slugfests. The front lines live for a very long time, and there's not too much that gets to the back line besides like a Vel'Koz or Assassins. The rest of this is front to back fights for the most part. So a Guinsoo stacking and stacking and stacking is very, very good on almost any carry. The AD carries, Aphelios, Draven, Jax, love it. Jax is like he has a built-in Guinsoo already, but Aphelios and Draven absolutely love it. Mord loves it. Vel'Koz it's okay. It means he can get like a second and possibly third ult out faster, but it's probably not that good. Heimerdinger, definitely best in slot. Kayle, probably best in slot. Teemo, very good. It is just a fantastic item. So the sacrificial version of Rageblade, the Shadow version, is called the Guinsoo Sacrificial Rageblade. Same stats, 10 AS and 10 AP. The Shadow ability grants 9% stacking attack speed. So 3% more attack speed per stack, which is actually a 50% bonus. The detriment to this is attacks deal 2.5% of the wearer's max health to themselves as true damage every attack. It is an extremely powerful item that grants even more stacking attack speed faster. So in every 2 attacks for the sacrificial version is like 3 attacks of the regular version. It's fantastic. But you hurt yourself with every attack. If you can combo this with a Bloodthirster, a Risk Thirster, a Gunblade if it's an AP-based champion, it is probably one of the best combos for damage dealers right now. You only want to use this one if you have a source of healing on the unit, or your unit will just end up killing themselves extremely fast. All of the carries are the same as long as they have a source of healing with it. The only one I'd say here is like Heimerdinger. I actually don't think this one would be that good on. He'd end up just killing himself because he doesn't really do the damage himself. His ability helps his turret. So like he'd probably end up killing himself in the end because he can't really get any more healing. But for the rest of these guys, as long as you have healing on them, it would be fantastic. Going over to a more defensive item to start here, we're going over to Locket of the Iron Solari, which is a needlessly large rod and a chain vest. It has 20 armor and 10 AP, and the ability is the same as set 4 and 4.5, where it grants a shield to allies on either side of the unit within 2 hexes, so 5 units total, that blocks 300, 350, or 400 damage based on the wearer's star level, and that shield lasts for 8 seconds. Very good, just overall defensive item, gives a huge shield. If you hit 5 units with it, even at just 1 star, that's 1500 extra health your team's getting. Very strong. The Shadow version of the item it completely changes the item, but it's very good. So instead of granting the health shield at the start of combat, it grants the same length aura, so 5 units, 60 armor and 60 magic resist to every unit that it affects. But those units gain 5 less mana per auto attack. This is an extremely strong frontline item, or item with mainly melee based. So if you're playing a lot of skirmishers, if you're playing like a 4 or 6 knight frontline, this item is ridiculously strong. Overall, it gives out 300 armor and 300 magic resistance to your frontline, which is ridiculous amount of free stats. The gaining 5 less mana per auto attack, if it's used on the frontline, isn't even that big of a detriment, because most of the time your frontline units gain their mana from taking damage, not from doing auto attacks themselves. So I think this, honestly, I feel like this item might be a little too strong. I feel like that many kind of free stats for just 2 items, yeah, one of them's a shadow item, I don't feel like the detriment, I don't feel like the negative on this item is big enough. I feel like this is an extremely strong item, and if you have a way to get it on 5 frontline melee units, it'll always be worth it. For who can use the item, it's just anybody in the front line. Throw it on anybody in the front line for either the regular Locket or the Locket of the Silver Lunari, the Shadow version. For Locket of the Iron Solari, you can put it on the back line because there's no negative version. So it's just if you need your backline to get shields, you can put it on the backline. Otherwise, throw it on the front line. Going to another now like utility-based item, we'll hit up Ionic Spark, which is a needlessly large rod and a Negatron cloak. The stats are 20 magic resist and 10 AP, and the ability is the same as set 4. The enemies within 2 hexes have 40% reduced magic resist. When they cast a spell, they are zapped, taking 200% of their max mana as magic damage. Same as it was before. It's good on any melee frontliner, good on some assassins. If you have a magic heavy damage comp and you're not running a shiv from the magic resist shred, I would probably build a spark in it. The shadow version of the item is the Ionic Dark Spark. Same stats, but the shadow version ability is different. Enemies and allies within 2 hexes are zapped when they cast an ability. Enemies take 200% of their max mana, while allies only take 100% of their max mana as magic damage. Whenever either an enemy or ally is zapped, the wearer gains 5 AP for the rest of the fight. So the big differences here is it no longer has MR Shred, it zaps allies as well. Now, it zaps them for less than it zaps enemies, so it's still a net gain there. But it gives the unit who's holding the item unlimited scaling AP. It can literally scale forever. If you just have someone who just casts, and it keeps zapping, and they just keep going up, up, and up, it scales ridiculously strong. I think the item has some great potential on specific units. The reason I have like a Warwick and a Kennen there, because like if you're playing some sort of Warwick Revolt, if you're playing like Revolt Hellion, I think the item is viable on those like on Warwick or on Kennen, very, very much so. But not really on many other units. I think it's viable on Mord, because Mord is an absolute monster. I think, you know, Ivern can hold it just because I probably wouldn't do it there. It's just a just because unit, and I think it's actually pretty good on Garen. But otherwise, I probably wouldn't use this item that much. It's cool in theory, but since the shocks have to hit somebody to be useful, I really don't think, like, for the unit to be getting that stacking AP, I don't think you'd really ever use it on, like, a backline unit to get stacking AP. So, going over to Archangels Staff now, which is the new item that used to be a Luden's Echo. It's a needlessly large rod plus a tier of the goddess, makes the Archangels. It has 10 AP and 15 mana, and the ability is completely different than Luden's. So now every time the wearer casts, they gain 35% of their maximum mana as AP until the end of the fight. This is the other way that a unit can get unlimited scaling AP. This is the one I would do on like a backline unit if you want this unlimited scaling AP. Ionic would be unlimited scaling AP for a frontline. Archangels would be unlimited scaling AP for the backline. I have Ziggs and Brands listed here because they're both units who scale extremely well with this item because they have low mana costs. And there has been some reroll builds that have worked with them. So I have them on there. I was trying to keep this to like 4 costs mainly, but I just want people to make sure people can see that. For AP units, for anyone else, Karma is probably the best other unit for this. A Karma with an Archangels and a blue buff. Infinite scaling AP. Once Karma stacks her ability enough, her ability is cast literally every second. It scales extremely fast. So if we move over to the Archdemon's Staff of Immortality, which is the shadow version of the Archangels, the same stats, but their ability is different. So every time the wearer casts, they gain empty max HP to 300% of their max mana. Then the wearer heals for that amount. So pretty much what that means is, say they have 100 mana. They cast, they gain, so they have 100 mana, 1000 life. We'll do basic numbers to explain this here. They gain a health shield that for 300, so then their health goes up to 1300, and then they heal for that, so they're sitting at 1300 life. And this can scale indefinitely as well. So technically you could get a unit that hits, if somehow the fight lasted that long, 10,000 health with this. it scales completely different. This is, instead of being like an offensive infinite scale, this is a defensive infinite scaling item. So the shadowed version is completely different from the regular version. I still think it's a very good item. I think, again, Ziggs and Brand, because of the very low mana costs and how their abilities work, this is very good on them. It is extremely good on Karma. Unit I didn't put on here, but I probably should have. Warwick is probably the best early game unit for holding this item. Because his ability heals him already, and then he gets more max health, he's very, very strong at holding this item in the early game. Or if you go for like that 3-star Warwick build, I think putting this item on him is definitely a good idea. So now we're going over to the reduced healing burning item in Morellonomicon. The Morellonomicon is built out of a needlessly large rod and a giant's belt. The ability is the same as in set 4. When the holder deals magic damage with their ability, they deal 25% of the target's max HP as true damage over 10 seconds, and reduces healing on them by 50. That should be a percent sign right there. Let me put that in. 50% over the duration. So what this pretty much means is you affect them with a Morello, they burn 2.5% of their health a second as true damage. Kennen, Brand, and Morg are all fantastic users in the early stage of Morello, which is why I have them listed. In the late game, it's any unit that you want to spread Morello to multiple enemies and cast semi-early in the fight. Vel'Koz and Karma are only here if you're not running them as your main carry. If they're running them as your main carry, don't use them. Otherwise, I think for like 5 costs, Volibear is probably the best. He casts pretty early, he hits a huge CC, and hits a lot of people. The shadow version of the item is the Morellonomicon. I don't know how to pronounce that one. Long story short, it burns. The difference in the ability is it burns 100% of the target's max HP as 2 damage over 25 seconds. Healing reduced on them by 50%. I wrote that. I missed that as well. 50%. And the holders, the negative about this is the holder, so whoever's using the item, deals 50% reduced damage with their abilities. So this item is used pretty much only for the burn effect, and whoever you put it on is not going to be doing as much damage with their own ability. It increases the burn damage from 2.5% a second to 4% a second in true damage. So that's a pretty big buff. And it lasts for 25 seconds, which means 1 cast and it's on the people pretty much for the entire fight. So the only thing the item holders are pretty much the same. I think late game, Volibear is probably, again, the very best item holder. But pretty much just don't put this on an item you want them to be a main carry, because they lose 50% of their AP and it's terrible. So now the last item with a needlessly large rod is the Jeweled Gauntlet. Grants 10 AP, 20% crit chance, is built out of needlessly large rod and a sparring glove. And the ability is the same as set 4 and 4.5, where the holder's magic and true damage from the ability can critically strike. The holder gains 40% critical strike damage. No thing to note about this is Infinity Edge plus Jeweled Gauntlet combo means the holder's spells will always critically strike, which is very, very powerful. And you can put this on any AP carry and it works wonders. The shadow version of the item is the Sacrificial Gauntlet. Same exact stats. The shadow version does the same thing, except it also grants 20% critical strike chance. So with the shadow version of the Gauntlet, you don't really need an Infinity Edge to get a very high crit chance to make sure your ability's critting quite often. The negative about it is the holder deals 15% of their max HP to themselves as true damage on cast. So Vel'Koz can probably use this item without killing himself. Otherwise, any of the other real carries here, you're gonna want some sorts of healing on them, because like Karma casts so often, she will literally kill herself with this item. Everybody else, it should be okay. So that sums up all of the rod items here. I hope people found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and come see me live on Twitch. I am live Monday to Saturday, 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I focus on educational gameplay, explaining my plays, answering all questions you have, and just overall having a good time. Thank you everyone for watching, and have a fantastic night.